Hello, I'm Mantastic'c and Fantastic, and today I'm going to talk about version 19.9 update that has just gone live in North America. So this is a massive update with tons of exciting stuff, and I'm going to break this into like the actual update itself, and then a subsequent video will talk about all the new evolutions that were released because there's actually quite a large amount of content. So without further ado, let us dive right into it. So first things first, stamina will no longer be consumed for the first clear in normal dungeons, and this is important because A, you save stamina, so yay, everything is happy. You can just play forever. We kind of could to a certain extent, but at the same time, normal dungeon clear status has been reset, which means if you have cleared all the normal dungeons at some point in the past, they will be available again to clear for another magic stone. And for the most part, normal dungeons, aside from the top training arenas, are completely irrelevant and outdated in the sense that like they are tremendously old. They should be incredibly easy to clear, and because of that, I highly recommend you actually pick up your, utilize either like, say, Varroa Kitty, because her leader skill gives you 500,000 auto follow attack when you match any one combo, and then perhaps pair with a Hino friend, because you can use the Varroa to clear basically most of the content, and then Hino gives you a bigger auto follow attack. Hino is just more accessible, but you need to actually have, 5 matched orbs. 5 is a little harder than 3, so like having one Varroa Kitty, one Hino means the big auto follow attack should kill like the later floors a bit easier. Obviously, the training arenas need like a more real team, but for the vast majority of the other ones, I highly recommend you use these like easy auto follow up attack leaders. In addition to this, we also now have the ability to receive specific items in bulk from the mailbox. There was a point in time where I had 100 plus gung-ho Palag machine PAL point like mail, and each one is only worth 100 PAL points, so like a tiny amount, and the amount of excessive and redundant clicking you had to do was terrible. Now we have the capacity to actually, receive all, and that's going to make a big difference because you're able to, open up things quickly. I am all for saving clicks. The less clicking I have to do, the happier I am going to be. In addition to this, killer awakenings give a little bit of extra zest. I still think killers are a little too niche and situational, but cards that have these killer awakenings will gain a bonus 1.2 times damage cap increase, so a 20% increase to their maximum damage potential. So right now, the damage cap is 2.14 billion and whatnot. So a 20% increase of that is approximately 400 million damage against only that specific type of spawn. So obviously those killer cards need to, actually have the relevant spawn appear in order to have this extra damage. It's going to make damage calculating even more difficult. Like for myself, what I usually do is I just count how many damage caps I have and I figure out, is this enough to kill it or is this going to be not enough and I get executed? Point of the matter is you're going to have to do even more calculations if you have cards with killer awakenings. But if you're not playing through like the current endgame content, this kind of like extra damage, so to speak, may not necessarily be relevant because many spawns really don't have that much effective health. Follow-up attack. The actual follow-up attack awakening has been greatly bolstered. Instead of doing 1 bonus damage, it is 500,000. Now, you might think, well, what's the point of this? Because when you think about it, super resolve or like regular resolve is like any 1 point of damage is sufficient, and you'll be like, yeah, I can do that there. But where this can potentially come in handy is when you're playing through content and the spawns have super resolve, because super resolve is a special type of resolve in the sense that when you push the monster to their super resolve threshold, you can never deal any more damage after that. Like you do your attack animations, you hit them, and then whatever follow-up attack damage you have goes after at their super resolve threshold. Depending on how big their super resolve threshold is and how much health is remaining, this follow-up attack may or may not allow you to potentially execute something and bypass and just have an easier time because you just skipped some mechanics. Is it going to be used all the time? Not necessarily, but hey, it is something new and it's like a buff, and at the same time, these types of auto follow-up attack or follow-up attack damage ignores absorption, damage void, etc. So this might even potentially be a way to overcome some of those other cumbersome spawns. New matching bonuses have now arrived for ranking dungeons, Remdraw Fever, and 8-player multi-mode. Basically, if these awakenings are present on a given team, they will score bonus points. It's relevant when it is relevant, but hey, cool, just nice to be aware of. At the same time, any card of this 5 attribute awakening and you have guard break on the team ends up making 5 attributes quite lucrative from a matching point of view. In addition to all of that, we can purchase multiple cards with monster points. This is nice. Like if you don't have enough evolution materials and you need to buy lots of rainbow keepers, for instance, you can do so and you will have a much easier time. Again, saving clicks saves a bit of sanity. We now have the ability to rearrange our monster box sorting aspect. So what I'm going to do is switch back to my pad screen account and I'm going to like just tinker around with this. So, whoops. Change order. So now there's a bunch more stuff here. Now this is one thing that's kind of annoying. Like you have to press, like if I want to sort by like say level, I still have to press OK. I'm actually adding an extra click compared to before, which I think is a little unfortunate. Like I'm clicking one more time. And then of course you get this sorting stuff. If you want to do text search, it's a bit more like more buttons to press, but then again, more buttons to press. I don't like having to actually click more. You still can utilize the clicking here to change like monster skill, etc. But one other thing I want to draw attention to is under useful, you are able to do some useful tricks. You can reorder the sorting buttons. So for myself, I already reorganized it to just pick the stuff that I like to have at the very top. So like I tend to sort my box with like chronological or CHR, level, pluses, and then like CostRarity might be interesting. Monster points could be cool, collab. But like point is, I just put the stuff that I'm going to use at the very top and then the stuff I don't care about as much towards the bottom. But when I think about it, EXP value is something I do like to have sometimes. So I'm just going to throw it up there. So that way it's at least somewhere near the top. I sometimes use rare. I don't maybe use cost. It's kind of cool to look at health, team, RCV. There's no wrong way to sort yourself. It's just what you actually do to like look up things. But remember, it's under useful. And in addition to under useful, you can set favorites. So you're able to potentially like go and drag and you can favorite say multiple monsters at once. I could go like this and bam, they're favorited or unfavorited. It's pretty cool when I think about overall. Like sometimes people's boxes get reset in the sense that things are unfavorited. This is a way for you to know quickly refavorite cards. In addition to this, we also have a way to search for leader skills. And I think this is a little odd because I don't usually search for leader skills. I tend to search for active skills and awakenings because like I kind of know what leader I'm going to use. Like to a certain extent, I choose the leader first when team building and then I build everything around the leader's skills requirements. So we have the ability to like find out, like sort from different things. So maybe some possible things that could be helpful is, where is it under multiple power matching, combo matching? Where's follow-up attack? No. Extra effects here. Bonus combos inflicts fixed amount of damage. This can be useful when you're trying to clear some content. Like I said, the normal dungeons, I could do this. And it would show me all the different leaders that could have auto follow-up attack afterwards. So you have to think, 1 damage. Okay, well that's an unfortunate. I don't think it's the best filtering system, but I guess it's something. And then at the same time, I'm not even 100% sure of how like orb matching. I thought every leader does orb matching. But again, it's an improvement to the monster box features in terms of we can search things up a little bit easier. Life becomes a little nicer. But again, for myself, I tend to find, I already choose my leader and then I'm good to go from there. And then in addition to this, we also have the ability to toggle warnings. So by default, fusion warning and sale warning are turned on by default. I think this is a good thing to have on because it is possible to make a mistake and selling something you did not want to sell or fuse could be disastrous. So at least I think these pop-ups being default on is actually a good thing overall. Some prompts won't be displayed. And then there's going to be some new dungeon, like there's a new floor added, and I'll talk about that a little bit in the next tab momentarily. But the next big thing I want to talk about is rarity and cost adjustments. So reincarnated and super reincarnated cards have now received a significant change to how they function. So can I search by monster? If I go reincarnated. So all these reincarnated or super reincarnated cards have received a significant buff. So I'm going to take a look at Ariel right here. And the big buff for them is that all these cards are now 6-star rarity. And they have only 25 team cost. This is a huge difference compared to before because, for the most part, team cost and rarity is kind of irrelevant for most things. But with the advent of new Coliseum floors, basically like those dungeons where you enter the dungeon, all your cards are at level 1, you kill floors, you level up based on your team cost and the rarity. So having these 6-star cards be heavily changed in this sense here means they are bolstered to the point that they are incredibly efficient for those types of dungeons. Like if you were using, say, Ariel in that Colosseum, any of the Colosseum dungeons, she is going to level up incredibly fast. And that's important because now her big stats are now going to come into play sooner, and Super Awakenings, if you're playing in solo mode, actually come up when they achieve level 100 or above, which should be much faster. And this applies to all these reincarnated or super reincarnated cards, like the 6 stars, the 25 team cost, a big deal overall. And this is definitely going to open up some team building possibilities for those specific dungeons, because cards like Susanoo, who I do like to use, suddenly he's 6 stars and a great choice. Mori Montanari, amazing choice for Seawolf or even Royal Oak teams if you really think about it. He can now function and level up significantly faster. You gain access to his bonus 10 combo of Super Awakening. Point of the matter is, this is a big deal for 6-star cards, and it's applicable in Colosseum and in the new AltMD1 Dungeon, which I'll talk about later. And again, various buffs for cards. I'll go into a bit greater detail momentarily. And then lastly, we have some general life improvements where the maximum number of PAL points have increased from 50 to 500,000. I like this because I tend to get PAL points quite quickly, and there are many times where I don't want to roll, but I kind of do because I'm capped out. Now I can keep saving up PAL points for the more delicious and spicy events. In addition to that, the Memorial 2,000 and 3,000 day Tamadras no longer stack and can be favorited. You only can get these cards once, so it's kind of weird. Why would they stack? So we can favor them and admire the fact that we've reached these significant milestones and various bugs, fixes, and improvements. So, as I mentioned already, there's a new floor added to Alt Dimension of the Mystics. And this is MD2, and that's why all the millies or mirrors are in this image here, and these will drop specific 6-star Godfest exclusive gems when you do clear it. But in addition to having these gem floors, it also grants a bonus to 6-star or lower rarity cards. So those super reincarnated cards are now all 6-star rarities. So that Ariel I showed beforehand will be a great choice for your Daytona teams, because Ariel now has bolstered stats, so she's able to function even better than she did before. This is exciting in my opinion because, yay, more team building options. It might encourage you to utilize cards you didn't before. I think that's a good game design. I don't like the fact that every single team uses the exact same, every team uses basically the same set of subs in every single dungeon. And having some diversity makes it a little more exciting. Having more options, I think, allows for a bit more creativity. It's a good thing overall. In addition to AltMD2 being available for the respective gem drops and 6 stars being bonus, the AltMD1 Dungeons are now all available for all the typings. So the idea is the different gems that are available are now available at all given points in time. You can play any of these that you do desire whenever you want. And then of course you want to obviously try and build your team with their respective typings. So for this Devil, Balance, Enhance, you want to try and use teams that have as many Devil or Balance type cards as possible. Having both typings at the same time doesn't increase the bonus. But as a general rule of thumb, I find that if you have at least 4 cards that are on type, you should be pretty much okay, assuming you're using a competent team. When you have 3 or less cards, it might be a little bit sketchier because your effective health just drops down and some hits might be quite large and punishing. But this is nice. I think this is actually one of the better designed dungeons in the sense that it's going to force you to use different types of teams essentially for every single one. And I think that's nice because you get to play the same dungeon but with different teams. I like this design choice. I hope we see more of this style in the future. And then again, you can always just take a glance through and see which gems drop from each respective dungeon. And then finally, we have a new monster that drops in Alt Shura 2. So Alt Ruler of Hell's Hall is same annoying thing as it used to be, but now Gills has the chance to drop as a gem in these other these various special forms, and you can make him into a powerful evolution. So he does have new weapon assists. It's a pretty cool full cleric active skill. You get almost full cleric. You get Awoken Bind and Unmatchable Clear. For the most part, that's all you usually need. Regular binds are seldom an issue, but of course it may come up. But just be mindful of the fact that if there are regular binds, it's not a helpful weapon assist. And then it unlocks and changes all orbs to water, dark, and heal. So it's got nice awakenings, got a nice active skill, nice weapon assist overall. But I want to take a look at Gills' new evolution. So his dark green form is actually an incredibly strong choice. You have 4 skill boosts and you have a VDP through Super Awakenings, which means he's a 10, 7, and a VDP card. Meaningful personal damage, great option for Blackbird teams, and in fact, he's actually a wonderful sub for your Blackbird teams because he has a wonderful 4-turn cooldown, which gives you a full Awoken skill bind clear, and then removes orb blocks and changes light to dark. So, unlocking is great, and then orb generation is meaningful. For your Blackbird teams, this will be helpful. He's a devil, you can use him on UG Mojito teams. It's going to be a great sub all around, but why I want to draw attention to why this is so important is because he only clears Awoken binds. But if you do have Geru, who I highly encourage you to monster exchange for in a previous collab, Geru removes Unmatchable. So between Geru and Gills, you have Awoken bind clear and Unmatchable clear. Having both of them on the team at the same time will make a big difference because now you address both of those dangerous mechanics while also having orb generators and cards who actually have relevant and meaningful awakenings that are actually going to help your team overall. And that crosses a nice little extra zest. Those dark, sticky blinds can now be erased with relative ease. And then again, he has this weapon assist. It has a myriad of awakenings and that follow attack. I think this is quite situational. I feel like the God Killer can at least provide a meaningful amount of damage along with the Grape Takoyaki or Enhanced Dark combo. And then when we look at his blue form, it's not shown here for some strange reason, but reasonably similar to... Actually, you know what? I can just look it up. How's that sound? I'll show you. I will show you what it looks like here. But the dark blue form is less ideal because... Not because their awakenings are poor, like 7, 10, VDP is still great, the 2 enhanced combos. He does have 2 less skill boosts, but it's because this active skill is not as desirable. You only remove Unmatchable. And Geru clears Unmatchable anyways. And then if we think about it, he takes Fire to Dark, but if I'm not mistaken, Blackbird, where are you at, changes Fire to Dark as well. So the dark blue form doesn't work as well, because if you have Geru, you're probably using him on a team. And when I'm saying Geru, I mean this card here. Like, you're probably going to want to use this guy because he does clear Unmatchable. So, like, the dark blue form doesn't work as well. If you are able to clear Altura 2 and have the option to make various guilds, I would prioritize the green dark form overall because this is a meaningful sub for your teams. And it's kind of cool when you think about it. Geru, Gills, we've got quite a few farmable cards for Blackbird that are actually strong subs. And that is all I want to talk about in this given video. I'm going to go over all the evolutions and buffs to the existing cards from this update in a separate video because I don't want it to take too long and just maybe a bit easier to find information. So with that being said, let me know what you think about all these changes and buffs and whatnot for version 19.9. Which of these are you most excited for? Do you like the fact that we can sort our monster box a little bit easier, a little bit more customization, or are you excited to like bang your head against like Gills and Shuritu to farm these cool new evolutions? Regardless of all that, hopefully you all have a truly fantastic day. I wish you all the best luck in your own pad adventures, and happy puzzling.